Catlike Reflexes.
Catlike
Reflexes. My name is Bryan Piitz. I'm your host today. And with us are the Podcats, Nahanni Born and Derek Howard, and for the first-timer pod kitten, Jay Radko. How's it going, Jay?
Good, Brian. Good to hear.
Thanks for joining us here. He is a long-time listener, first-time guest. And
he tried calling us.
He's finally caller number 7, and he won the contest. So anyway, we're happy to have Jay with us. Jay actually is a longtime friend of most of the Podcats, and we're glad to have him with us. Welcome.
Good to be here.
Fan fiction. Once upon a time, the Podcats were driving in their car when they came upon the people from the Serial podcast. They kicked their asses. And anyone who wasn't dead just made out. And they made out like on the hood of the smashed car with the dead bodies bleeding all over the ground. The police were taking pictures all around, but they didn't care. The world was theirs. They were alone in it. That's my Catlike Reflexes / Serial fan fiction.
That was better than 90% of the fan fiction I've read.
That's right.
I was really certain that was Cronenberg.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
I guess not.
Fan fiction. Sometimes what the creators of characters come up with isn't enough, and people like to go and make up their own stories. The internet is full of fan fiction, and some of the Podcats have their own favorite fan fictions or their own thoughts on it, either positive or negative. So, Derek, I'm going to start with you. I know that you do read a lot of fan fiction, I understand.
I read a lot of the internet, so yeah, by proxy, I come across really bad pieces of fan fiction. Oh my god.
What are some of the worst? What's the worst kind of fan fiction?
Oh, anything that ultimately degenerates down into sex. Just, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just two fictional characters, or many, that just, and then they met up. And then they made out. Your fan fiction on the intro would have been right on par with all of those. It's a very bad scene on the internet, but it's popular. Can
I tell you a secret? I made that story up on the spot. I know.
Really?
It was pretty good, I know, but anyway. So you're saying the worst fan fiction is the stuff that has sex in it. So if you want to see like Barney Rubble and the guy with the weird head from Babylon 5 do it, you can just write that.
Yes,
right?
Although you could easily go onto the internet and it probably exists.
Rule 34.
There's a website, I can't remember the name of it, and thankfully I don't want to remember the name of it, where you can actually type in either a genre or a specific product. So in this case, Babylon 5, and yeah, it'll tell you that there's been 10 stories written about that. Here you go. Click on the one you want.
Wow.
It's creepy.
So is there any fan fiction that you do like?
There is. There was a web comic which had its own individual plot lines and serial arcs. And this web comic was called Surrealist Obituaries. And I can't remember the name of the artist, but he came up with a fan fiction resulting around Two-Face from the Batman series. Two-Face, a man who, Harvey Dent, who's truly conflicted with his own personality or duality. Under a young, spunky superhero named Firecracker comes along, and she just ingrains herself into his scenario, wants to be a huge criminal like the big guy, and they end up almost having a relationship. It's a really amazing, I'd say, 10-part webcomic series. It really is one of the better Two-Face stories I've ever read, and the fact that it's just fan fiction just made it all the better.
So how did you come across that? Were you looking for it, or did it just pop up somewhere?
I follow a lot of web comics in general. It's my replacement for the Sunday Funnies. I don't really read I don't think anyone reads the newspaper anymore, so web comics have taken that over for me. And this was recommended on some of the internet places. They said, you should really check out this Two-Face fan fiction going on. This is amazing stuff. It's going to be huge. And I followed it through from, say, the third part straight through to the end.
Well, and did it end in sex?
No.
Because I think sex with Two-Face would be interesting.
Well, it depends what side of the bed it's laying on now, doesn't it?
That's
Is that a
right.
threesome then?
Yeah. It's Three-Face.
or at least two cheeks.
Yeah. Do you remember? Sorry, you said the title of it was.
I don't know what the title of the fan fiction itself
Oh.
was, but the webcomic was Surrealist Obituaries.
Surrealist Obituaries.
If you type into the internet, Surrealist Obituaries Two-Face Firecracker, you'll find that. And hopefully we'll provide a link.
Yeah. Or you could use Alta Vista or Bing or any search engine.
I just type it straight into the command prompt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the
You know
internet.
You know what? I'm still a fan of the good old phone book. Just look it up. Just look it up. Nahanni, what are your thoughts about fan fiction? I know you've got some strong feelings about it.
Anytime I've run across fan fiction, and that's like written text fan fiction, it's been accidental.
Ah.
Much like some of the other things I've seen on the internet.
Right.
But if you know me at all, when I play a video game or I watch a movie and I know there are comic books related to it or actual books, I like to read them and find out more. So a certain game franchise I play, and I won't mention it because Derek will judge me.
Come on.
Would
I
I do
know,
that?
You would do that.
What does it
Derek.
rhyme with?
It rhymes with mirrors.
Mirrors?
Mirrors.
Meerkat?
Mirrors.
Mirrors of More?
Mirrors of Door.
Mirrors
yeah.
of Door?
Yeah, Mirrors of Door.
I actually didn't know.
Anyway, so I read
yeah, okay, right, Gears. Sorry.
Gears of War. Yeah. Anyway, so I've read the books and they're really well written. They're written by a woman, which I thought was interesting, and it's a real. The books themselves are a great commentary on military policy and politics. They're fantastic books actually if you actually want to read them. So I thought I'll see what else is out there, and then I run across the fan fiction.
Ah.
And Gears of War is very much, if I can use a Catlike Reflexes term, dick in your face game.
It's a dick in your face game.
It is a dick in your face game.
Everyone's trying to put their dick in your face.
Yep, all the time.
For those of you who maybe didn't catch that episode and need some context, it is usually a first-person shooter where people try to repeatedly put their genitals in your face.
Exactly. However, it blew my mind when I read this. When I read it from beginning to end to give it a fair chance. And it diminished to a sex scene very quickly between two of the main characters, both men.
Uh-huh.
What I found interesting, I mean, I didn't care for it very much. I'm not a big fan of fan fiction itself. It takes characters where the franchise doesn't intend it.
Right.
But whoever wrote it really knew the story and actually read the books because they reference other storylines and, they kind of pull out subplots that make you believe that those two characters may have actually been in love with each other through the entire series, which I thought was kind of neat. So that was my one experience with written text fan fiction. The other one was another dick-in-your-face game called Army of Two, which I played a lot of.
There's fan fiction of Army of Two.
There's fan fiction of Army 2. Once again, devolves quickly into a sex scene in a Vegas hotel room.
Army of Three.
Well, there was about 6 or 7 in the room,
Huh.
but the two male protagonists were very interested in one another in this story.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but it also has a comic book series, 2 actually.
So was it versus or co-op?
I think it started out versus and ended up a little co-op.
So was it any good?
The second fan fictions? No. It was
The Army of Two fan fiction?
No, it was awful.
Terrible?
It was terrible. The comics were both terrible as well.
But those weren't really fan fiction, right? They were...
No, the fan fiction
They
was
were
actually licensed.
Yeah.
The comic books, were actually licensed. The fan fiction was obviously scribbled on a notepad late at night somewhere,
Wow.
after a few adult beverages. But the fan fiction I do enjoy, and I think it falls into the category of fan fiction, is some of the comics I read where fans draw their own characters and their own storylines and mix up and do mashups between characters from different universes. I do enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, even something
especially
like
the Deadpool stuff. I
even
really
something like
enjoy
Killing
Deadpool.
Shakespeare, I guess you could
Yeah.
call fan fiction in a way.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of examples of that in comic books. There's a lot of like crossover fan fiction, like
Yeah.
Star Trek versus Doctor Who, or actually there was a licensed one that had that. It wasn't.
There was actually a licensed. They had one book where it was the X-Men travel to the world of Star Trek. I
Wow.
read that, and it was really bad.
Everybody's Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, pretty much. I sort of like, yeah, Patrick Stewart in both roles. He's there and there.
Yeah.
He's there and he's got his sleeve tied to himself.
So, Jay, before we started the podcast, you said you had some very strong opinions against fan fiction, and I didn't want to delve because I wanted it to be fresh. What can you tell us a little bit more about?
One
that?
of the things the little fan fiction that I've actually seen, it all seems to the ones that bug me are it seems to be everybody wants to ship. I'm making the air quotes to ship characters. So like they're, as Nahanni said, they're getting characters into relations that they're obviously not in the what's the word? In the canon.
The canon, yeah.
In the canon, they're not doing that. You know, like one of the ones that really bugs me is John Locke, and they always combine the names. John Watson and Sherlock Holmes from the news, where they're obviously in love, and then there's these torrid stories of these two people in love. No.
Does it kind of ruin it for you a little bit?
It does a little bit. It's like
famously they have the Kirk and Spock fanfic, which is very
one of the
common.
big one too. It's Frodo and Sam.
Oh right, yes.
Because that movie about the two gay guys. There's the one joke someone told me about. They went and saw the movie about the two gay guys on the mountain. They said, "What? Brokeback Mountain? No, Lord of the Rings." So it's the people seem to want to make these characters be like this when they're not supposed to be like this, but I don't know. And it bothers me at times.
Yeah, just that they're not the ways the characters were.
Exactly. It's not the way that they were visualized originally. It's but obviously they must be. Or they would be great if they were. No, it wouldn't.
Well, I guess in fan fiction, it's a lot of
wishful thinking.
Fan could be fanatic, but it could also be fantasy, I suppose. Fantasy fiction.
That's 50 Shades of Grey right there, though.
Is it true that it was fan fiction of Twilight?
Yeah.
Is that correct, or is that just a rumor?
No, that's 100% correct.
And now it's a big movie going on right now.
Yeah.
50 Shades of Grey.
The fan fiction came out, and all the author did was switch up a couple of names, and then it just sold like hotcakes. Yeah.
Wow. Took out the vampires and put in just a rich guy.
Some dick, yeah.
Yeah. Some guy who's a dick, or like some dicks.
I was leaving it ambiguous.
Oh. And I just tried to sharpen it up.
What about you, Mr. Host, fan fiction host?
I don't read a lot of like text fan fiction, but I do like fan fiction on like YouTube and stuff. People make a lot of fan fiction movies, and I'm into that. Some of them. The ones who do movies tend not to be in the genre of let's make our favorite characters fuck. They tend to be a little bit more in. It seems to me that they're usually more into cosplay. They're cosplayers who like have the costumes, and they're like, hey, you know what? We got the costumes. Let's make a movie. So I've seen some really good like Batman fan fiction. There's a 2 or 3 really good Portal fanfic. What are you laughing at?
My teeth are haunted.
My teeth. Oh yeah. Now, does parody count as fan fiction?
It should.
Yeah.
Because that would make it awesomer. But
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what's going on. What's my
There's
teeth
a video.
Haunted?
There's a very there's a video. I'll post it later. You'll see it on our website, I guess. There's a video. It's Michael Swaim and some of the Cracked guys before they were in Cracked. They were making these videos. I think they were called Those Aren't Muskets. That was the name of their troupe. And they had this thing about Batman and Commissioner Gordon. And it's just about how Batman just scares the shit out of everybody and literally makes them shit their pants.
they're all
Or they die because they're just scared. And Michael Swaim is Batman. And Commissioner Gordon's just trying to tell him to like tone it down a little bit. It's really funny. And there's the line that we always talk about, Nahanni and I. The line is, Commissioner Gordon looks at him and says, or he says, do you like my new teeth? And Commissioner Gordon says, Are those fangs? Do you like them? They're haunted. So anyway, Commissioner Gordon is telling him to like tone it down because every time he drops a criminal off at the police headquarters, they always have shit in their pants and he has to clean it. Anyway, so I don't know if would parody count as fan fiction?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it
Totally
would.
would, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of parodies out there. Like, speaking of Batman, there's the Pete Holmes Badman series. I'm sure you've seen, where he's just a dumb Batman.
Mm-hmm.
He's terrible he's this terrible Batman, and so like the Riddler gives him clues, and he like can't figure it out, and they're really obvious and stuff. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, look up Pete Holmes Badman. You can find a lot of
What
those.
about the web cartoon Batman and Piderman?
Oh, I haven't seen a lot of that. I've seen
That
it,
is
but not a lot.
hilarious.
It is, yeah.
It's Batman and Spider-Man in this alternate universe where they're just dumb roommates and they have cute adventures.
That's cool.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's great.
Yeah. Some of the other ones, there's a web series out there where they take famous characters and it's sort of like a versus battle, and they put a lot of effects and stuff. So I've seen recently Darth Vader versus Batman, and they do it really
Battle scenarios.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, they do it up
I
saw
just like we sit
Thor-
around and do
Thor
battle
versus
scenarios.
Superman. I saw.
Oh, that's I don't know if I saw that one. That sounds good though.
It was okay. I mean,
Yeah. But yeah, so there's lots of that sort of stuff, sort of what would happen. And now, like, video making technology is so accessible that people can just do it.
Yeah.
If you know somebody who vaguely looks like Thor, you can just... I mean, I don't. I don't, but none of my friends look like Thor, but...
So I have one other fan fiction I like.
Yes.
Interestingly, it doesn't involve any of the characters from it, but it takes place in the universe. So that's an interesting side to fan fiction, is if
Right.
if it takes place in the universe of.
Like a lot of the Star Wars fanfic doesn't have anything to do with the character.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. My Little Pony? Is that My Little Pony
Yes,
that you're
it
showing
is.
me?
I read one of. I'm a science fiction writer, amongst many other things, and
Many.
thank
Sorry.
you.
I'm just trying to help.
What? It's jack of all trades. And one of the greatest science fiction stories I've read in the last little while was a My Little Pony story that took place during the Singularity, where someone creates a multiplayer online game, an MMORPG, in the My Little Pony universe. They're hired by the Hasbro company. And the computer gains sentience. And so for all these players who might as well be reenacting World of Warcraft, suddenly they're wrapped up into this world which is becoming smarter around them. And then it starts to take over not just the servers, not just that universe, but then our real world, and then our universe. It becomes truly a sentient AI, and it originates in the My Little Pony universe. And it is one of the most fantastic pieces of sci-fi I've read in the past 10 years, and it's a fan fiction for My Little Pony.
Interesting.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever come across.
Wow. Huh. Anybody else? You got some...
I've got it's just sort of to follow up a little bit on the My Little Pony. I've been reading a lot of shorts. I don't know if this counts as fanfic, but short stories on a website called or a site called creepypasta.com.
Oh, yes.
yeah.
And they're like little short horror stories. And there were two stories in this thing, and it's all scary stories. They're horror stories, and they're really nasty. And one story called I can't remember the name of the story, but it was basically about how Pinkie Pie is actually this psychotic killer, and she lures other ponies into the basement of her candy shop, and that's the main ingredient for her cupcakes is other ponies. And so it's this
Kind of a Sweeney Todd kind of
Sweeney
situation.
Todd kind of thing, only it's horribly graphic. Like she captures Rainbow Dash and tortures her to death. It's graphic, just graphically describes cutting open the horse and cutting off hooves and wings and stuff, and I don't know if I could actually say that's good, but I enjoyed reading it. I felt bad afterwards. Wow, I kept reading and I shouldn't be enjoying this, but this is really kind of intriguing.
Is it kind of like the pony with the dragon tattoo on their butt?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah.
Do you think that the popularity of a piece of artwork. So in this case, My Little Pony, you mentioned Sherlock, we've mentioned Star Trek. Do you think that the popularity dictates the amount of fan fiction? Because there's a lot of My Little Pony fan fiction out there.
I think it does.
Yeah, it's a popular show.
I'm not seeing too much Babylon 5 going on these days, but...
What are you talking about? We wrote one, like, 20 minutes ago.
It was really good, Mr. Cronenberg.
Yes.
Sex.
Actually, one of the weirdest fan fictions that I've encountered was brought to my attention by another podcat, Michael, who was in some of our earlier podcasts, and there was a guy on the internet who eventually published a short book of stories featuring various scenarios in which Roy Orbison gets covered in cling film. That's this guy's thing. And he just stories about Roy Orbison, the rock and roll singer, ask your parents, kids, just wrapped up completely in cling film. And every story is just sort of like, I was walking down the street and there was Roy Orbison, and you know, we were walking past the cling film factory, and oops, you know, or like, oh, there's only one way to save you from the rising waters. We have to completely seal you in cling film. Like every story is just, I made those ones up, but like every story is just some flimsy scenario for how he gets
wrapped in
cling film. And it was so popular, he published a book, and it's terrible. Like I read some excerpts from it, and it's poorly written. It makes no sense. But you got to kind of admire that. Yeah, is that fan fiction? I guess he's a fan of Roy Orbison and maybe a fan of cling film.
That's a mashup.
And it's not necessarily sexual, although I think some of it is vaguely erotic. But anyway.
How do we always end up looking for fan fiction, though? Like we sit here and say we don't like it.
Sometimes it just pops up,
and
or
it pops
you find
up.
it on Reddit or something. And
Yeah.
I have it recommended to me, either in person or I'm looking for something else online, and it just happens to be there.
I also think sometimes I'm looking for more for what I, to enhance what I'm doing, like whatever book I'm reading or game I'm playing. So I'm hoping there's something good out there to make it better.
So someone creating fan fiction for the end of Mass Effect 3 so that you don't feel so much of a vacuous wasteland in your soul for having thrown 100+ hours into it. Oh, I chose red, but it was green. Okay. Or blue.
Okay.
Save the damn Melkor.
So if anyone's listening out there and you're a budding writer and you want to write some fan fiction, does anybody here have any requests for fan fiction they'd like to see?
That's a great question. Something involving Elmer the safety elephant and Elmer the safety glue.
Like the little cow on the front of the glue?
No, the Elmer the safety elephant.
Oh, and the actual product, the glue, covered in glue.
Yeah, Elmer. I've got your title for you, Elmer the safety. You can make it during a football game.
Wow, I think it just writes itself.
I'm done.
I would like somebody to write a really good 007 fanfic, because I have looked up 007 stuff. Like, I guess like James Garner wrote some, and Sebastian Fox wrote some like later Bond novels that weren't really fan fiction, I guess, because they were licensed, but they weren't written by Ian Fleming. But anyone who tries to do James Bond fiction in video form on the internet is usually terrible.
Except for Archer.
Archer. Yeah, Archer is kind of a bit of fan fiction, isn't it?
I would say.
Or homage, at least.
Sort of a parody.
Yeah.
But most of them are just like kids, and they sort of wear sort of a tuxedo, and they just sort of run around their yard with plastic guns going like, meh, 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 meh. It's like, it's not a really sophisticated plot, but okay. So if anyone's out there and you can write a really good one, and you can maybe put like, I don't know, Trix Rabbit or somebody in there, just to mix it up a little bit, and they can
I'd read that.
Yeah? I would totally read that.
I'd read that.
Why are we reading it right now? If you're out there and that speaks to you, first of all, seek some help, then write it.
You just want to have the ship of Bond tricks.
Yeah, man.
Bond tricks.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You had to
in
go
my head.
there.
Well, it's in my head now.
Okay.
Now, do you think there's a value in fan fiction in the sense that maybe people can work out some of their own issues in it? Like, maybe people write fan fiction and just don't show it to anybody.
This happened to me once.
What?
I went on a date because I'm single, ladies.
Once.
Is this fan fiction?
Voice of caramel. I went on this date, and this woman, I was like, "Hi, how are you?" And she immediately gets into her entire life, and the first thing she tells me about is how she's got PTSD, and she has been instructed by her therapist to write a fictional scenario that is closely alluding to her own life, but at the very end, you switch it up and put in a happy ending, showing the potential of where you could go. Which is a very nice rule of therapy, but don't include Spock or Kirk if you're going to be doing that. And not be like, I remember the day when I was on the Enterprise, and the holodeck was closed, and the milk was sour. Don't be doing that.
Wow.
Anyway,
Do you need therapy after that?
there was-
Because you don't.
Is it fan
was-
fiction if it's about you?
excellent question. I don't
Or
have the
people,
answer.
like real people? Is it still fan fiction?
You can be a fan of yourself.
That's true. Roy Orbison was a real person.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Bob's Burgers, Tina is always writing, she calls it friend fiction.
Friend
There you go.
fiction.
It's all about zombies touching each other's butts. Yeah.
Yes.
If you've never seen Bob's Burgers, by the way, check
Do
it
it.
out. It's deceiving because it looks a little whatever, but it's actually quite good. Yeah. She has a thing for zombies and butt touching. So all her fan fiction is about everyone in the school turning into zombies and touching each other's
And there's
butts.
musical numbers about it.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
Wow.
Yeah,
Has anyone here ever written fan fiction in their youth?
in your youth.
Not that I'm going to admit to, no.
Oh, this is the
I used
time.
to put characters in stories. Because you know when you're in school and they're just like write a story and you're like, okay. Because sometimes kids don't get that it should all be original and they just like pick characters. And so I remember writing stories about like Kermit the Frog or Bill and Ted was a popular one. I used to write Bill and Ted fan fiction.
I'm so proud to know
But
you
it wasn't.
right now.
But it wasn't even like good. It was just like they went fishing. Or whatever. Just like we caught a fish. Excellent.
Well, tell you.
Yeah.
Doctor Who fanfic.
No,
Yeah.
you wrote Doctor Who fanfic.
Yeah, bad, but yeah,
for you.
I love
Great.
Doctor Who. So I tried writing a story or two.
Which doctor?
This was good. It would be number 4. So
It was
Baker,
sort of a Tom Baker style
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah.
Do you remember any details about your story?
Good Lord,
what
no.
happened?
There was a 17-foot scarf. It got longer the end.
No.
Did you write a lot of it, or just like
No,
one time?
no, just one time.
I wrote a story about Lego, about somebody who ends up in a world made of Lego, and this was like 30 years before the Lego movie came out. So I feel like I'm entitled to something.
I'd say yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Consult the lawyers.
yeah. And there was like, I think there was a wizard in it, but the wizard ate dragon or ate. There was a dragon that ate wizards. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Bill and Ted were there.
Wow, you're just
Did they catch
combining
a
it
fish,
all.
though?
Yeah.
Did they catch a fish?
No, there was also a Bert and Ernie one that was also about fishing. I guess I wrote
You
stories
liked
about
fishing,
fishing.
didn't you?
Yeah, Bill and Ted. Yeah, there was one about them fishing. I think there was one about them solving mysteries. They would like look for clues, and then it'd be like, "Look, it's a totally excellent clue." It was pretty good. That was an air guitar, by the way. That
Yeah.
sound.
I can't take you seriously
Bogus.
anymore. The mystique is gone. It's over.
The mystique is gone.
You know, I used to have respect for you and all, but
What about drawing drawing cartoons, fan fiction?
I think I drew more fan fiction
Yeah, I
than
think
I
I did
actually.
too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. You can go down the rabbit hole of DeviantArt, like
Good Lord.
the website DeviantArt.
Love
Like,
it.
Yeah.
There's so much of it, and
I
a
love
lot
it.
of it is just fanfic pictures that people draw.
It's
Like it's
fantastic.
fun.
There's one on this week. It's just trending on DeviantArt. It's all about if Gwen Stacy had spider powers, and she's got this white hoodie, and it's actually kind of a nice,
Fun.
interesting take on it. But yeah,
Does she still die all the time?
well, no, she's alive.
Oh,
I love DeviantArt. I've actually purchased from DeviantArt.
really?
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I have
You're
some
like a
signed
unicorn.
stuff. I am.
I have 2 accounts.
Really?
Yep, and no
One that we
fan
know
fiction.
about and one that we don't.
Neither that you know about, neither that you will ever know about.
Wow.
Sweet. So
And
you
I'm-
can't see your purchase history? Or
And I
what's the
haven't,
scoop?
I haven't sold anything.
One account is just fan fiction about his other account.
And then Mystery Writer X.
And then the two accounts met, and they...
And then
After they went fishing.
With the Tricks Rabbit. Excellent!
All right, it's just about time to wrap it up. Did anybody have any final thoughts about fan fiction?
I'm not going to give up on it.
No,
I'm still going to
I'm not.
read it, look at it.
There's for all the griping I've done, I have read some good fanfic. There are some writers out there who really truly enjoy their fandom, and they do write good things. But for every good story out there are 10 ones that here's like someone who really needs to get laid has written it, and it's a little frustrating at times.
Yeah. My thought on fan fiction is, and not just fan fiction in writing, but also in art and other forms. A lot of it is just a fun, it's a good time. But if you're going to put that much effort into, say, writing a novel, like maybe you could write an original novel. Like I don't see the reason that. How long does it take to write a novel? Like it takes a long time. And if you write fan fiction, if you write fan fiction, at the end of it, you've done all this work, and you've got something you can't publish. It's all derivative from somebody else's work. But if you wrote something original, then you've got something. I feel that way when I see like on the internet somebody has a picture. I don't know if this counts as fan fiction, but it's like we recreated all the realms of Game of Thrones in toothpicks. Well, good. Good for you.
Good on you.
But if you created something on a similar grand scale, but it was original, then you have art like that you can put in a museum, but you can't put your.
So that's the definition of having skill, but not originality.
Maybe, I mean, fan fiction can be original in some ways, but it ultimately, I guess, can't be, can it? If it's derivative of something else,
Oh.
Can it be 100% original? Well, it can't 100%.
That's a good question because there are. I do like it when one of my favorite book series is by an author named David Weber, the Honor Harrington series, and he has several books that are actually just stories that other writers have written about his universe. And sometimes they'll include some of his characters. So they're, I don't know, would you call that original or not? Because they're taking place in the same universe, and they have some of the same characters, and they have all the same history. But they're still originally creative stories about what's going on.
I think very similar to the My Little Pony Singularity story.
And that one, that one story I remember was called Cupcakes. If you want to look for it, it's called Cupcakes.
I actually kind of do want to read
Nice.
it now.
It's terrifying.
If you're creating a piece of fiction on your own that takes place in the universe of something and it involves those characters, I suppose it's fan fiction until the original creator or authors take notice, acknowledge, and help publish that piece of fan fiction so it becomes canon or at least recognized in the universe.
Acknowledged at least.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess so. Yeah.
That's what happened with Derpy Hooves in My
Yes.
Derpy Hooves?
Man, okay, Jason, are you a brony?
Yes.
I am also a brony.
It's out.
Whoa.
No.
Wow, you heard it here first.
I have a 13-year-old daughter and I have a 3-year-old daughter. Of course I'm a brony.
I also have a 13-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old daughter. No, I don't.
No, you don't.
God damn it. Derpy Hooves was a mistake in the background of one of the scenes. They had a character that just had an eye facing the other way. Fans latched onto it and created a world of fan fiction about this character and how brave and strong she was, and they called her Derpy Hooves and everything. And then the creators actually loved it, and so they incorporated that as canon.
Yeah. Wow. So she's now Derpy shows up in a whole bunch of episodes.
They changed her name, but it's
Yeah,
still her.
we just call her Derp.
Yeah.
The Bronyverse would do that. And that's pretty fantastic.
That is fan service right there.
She shows up in Friendship is Optimal.
Wow. Well, that's great.
And
What do
then they
you
went
think?
fishing.
What do you think out there in podcast land? Do you? What are your feelings about fan fiction? Do you have some favorites? Have you written any fan fiction that you'd like to share with us? maybe you can write some fan fiction about us, about the Podcats. We'll post some pictures maybe that can help you later. Let us know. Maybe you just think we're assholes. I don't know. Let us know. You can, of course, email us like a caveman at info@catlikereflexes.com. You can find us on Twitter at CRPodcast. We're on Facebook somewhere. Just look for it. And, of course, you can always find us at our home on the web, www.catlikereflexes.com. Oh, I'm getting my picture taken. There we go.
That's the worst selfie ever. It was facing forward. Should we do the song?
Yes, let's whisper it this time.
Okay.
Okay, here you go.
Catlike Reflexes.
The SMR people are going to freak out. All right. They're going to write fan fiction about us just whispering and combing our hair.
Then one cat started licking the other cat.
Meow.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody.
You're the best brony ever, Jay.
Please stop.
For Nahanni Moore and Derek Howard, Jay Radko, and myself, Bryan Piitz, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time. The opening and closing music for today's episode of Catlike Reflexes was Gates by Bellevue. I found their music on jamendo.com, and I recommend you check them out.